Hello. Thanks to your friends for signing up for the replay coaching. Sorry for any delay. I think it was about 9 days. Sad to say that is a fast turnaround for me. So either way, thanks for signing up. Okay, so you are 4.4K solo MMR. The first game you're playing Warlock. Not sure about the second game, but we'll check it out later. So I'm just gonna assume that they're both support games. If they are not, in fact, let me just go check really quick here because I just want to frame my arguments around this. Second game, you are playing this guy, which is a Vengeful Spirit. Okay, looks like you're playing support consistently. So, I do like that you're keeping your role consistent. If you're really trying to raise MMR, it's better to play like multiple support games in a row than multiple carry games in a row, stuff like that. I find that makes a big difference. It appears that you gave 2 shared tangos to the Pugna, I'm guessing. And it looks like you bought 2 tangos, 3 clarity potions, maybe courier, I'm guessing, maybe an observer ward, something like that. The tangos, 2 sets of tangos is probably fine. I think with Warlock, this is definitely doable. I haven't done this in a while. I've been buying salves lately, but I don't know. I kind of like getting lots of tangos. I don't think it's a terrible idea. 3 clarity potions is probably overkill, though. I think 3 is a little bit too much, considering that a shadow word is basically like a clarity and a half, or a half a clarity or something like that. So I think it's a little bit more beneficial sometimes to just go for maybe 2 clarities max. I don't think I've ever bought more than 2 unless I was playing like Enigma jungle. This is super dangerous to do because it's very likely that he knows you're here if we take a look at what he's looking at right now. 100% that he saw you walk there. See, he can check your hero, he can see that you have an observer ward, then you disappear for a couple seconds, you're going to put the ward down, and then you're going to walk back and you're not going to, like, see, he just bought a sentry. Instant deward. So the problem here is that if you do want to ward aggressively, ideally what you do is you get back to base a lot faster. Or what you do is you get out of base faster. So if we look at the start of the game, game starts, here's your character, you got your items, give an observer ward, you give 2 tangos, and you start walking. So this is pretty good time. Like you're out of the base pretty fast. But another thing you could do is sell one or buy 1 less clarity potion, buy a TP with that, TP to the lane, and then run down and put the ward down instead. Because your hero's a little bit slow, you didn't get a movement speed at the start, which is normal. But if you're taking this long to get all the way to the lane to put a ward down, and you still place a ward after you see them, and you lollygag here for like 10-15 seconds, this is all really detrimental. And as a result, he gets a free D ward on you. And obviously it costs him 100 gold, but he's going to get it back anyway, so absolutely not worth it. It's going to cost you. Because now you're not necessarily going to know where the centaur is, and if you don't know where he is, he could be jungling, he could be preparing to get to the offlane, and knowing exactly where he is will make a big difference in whether or not you can impact him well. Instantly kills the ward, and instantly gets a double set of tango, which is obviously going to benefit him a little bit better. This Pudge was showing, as you can see. I'm sorry, there's actually a ward over here. I think you guys are hanging out a little bit too long. I would instantly go back and start a small pull. So this is a small update in how pulling works as a support. In the last patch, when camps would only spawn at 1 minute, or every odd minute, you'd almost always want to stack the large camp. That way you could continuously pull later. But now because camps respawn all the time, it's better to actually pull through directly. And because you also have a Pudge, Pudge should be able to easily chase and kill the Centaur because he's got boots and rot. So what you should be doing is just instantly pulling as much as you can, because by doing that you're maximizing your experience gain. And I'm guessing what you're about to do is wait and stack the large camp at 53, which is still good, but it's not as good for maximizing your resources. Before, it was less important as a support to maximize your resources because of the fact that pulling any other way repeatedly than a double stack, than a stack pull, was just difficult. So this is still good for you because these creeps will die because you stacked it well. But the downside is you're going to get way less experience. So all this gets denied, but you could have been over here, pulled through here, gotten the experience for the small camp, then pulled to the large camp, and therefore gotten experience here, and maybe both, which would have been a much bigger advantage for you directly. And now because the lane pushes through, this is another big mistake that you made. Centaur comes up, but because he's got a creep wave, it's actually difficult to kill him. Pudge chasing and rotting after him is not worth it because he would take way too much damage from creeps. You guys shouldn't even be trying right here to mess with the Centaur. And in my opinion, even casting Shadow Word is probably not worth it in this case. And the other problem was that because there are no creeps, you ended up aggroing the range creep, and as a result of doing that, now you'd have to walk the range creep back to where the carry or the core farmer hero is. So this actually really messed you up. This is one of the most important things to do, is not aggro creeps. And as a result, this guy's just wailing into you. I'm sure you lost at least a tango's worth from this range creep hitting you. which instead should have just brought to where the Pugna is. But ultimately, that's a problem of if you aggro. If you aggro it, that is always going to happen. Like, you actually just took so much damage from that. Right-clicking him a lot is really good, though. You're doing a pretty good job with this. I also think it's possibly a mistake to use Shadow Word offensively. The reason being, when you cast Shadow Word on somebody, it's reduced by magic resistance because it's doing damage. But when you cast it on yourself, it just heals. So it's better, if you're thinking about, is it worth it for my Shadow Word to heal myself for 180 HP, or is it worth it to do a 180 nuke on a Centaur, and you're worried about trading effectively, I'd rather you heal yourself, personally, and then just continue to right-click the crap out of the guy. So if I pull up a calculator really quick, and I go 180 times 0.75, which calculates the damage, it's 135. So you're doing slightly less damage. It's like, what, 45? So you're losing about 45 from magic resistance, which requires you more tangos to actually heal back up. That's good, he actually got the D-ward. So, you also kind of missed another pull here. I know that this is kind of the Pudge's responsibility a little bit, because he was over here. But again, nobody has started a pull yet. So we're 2 minutes in. You guys are both still level 1. Your Pugna is also still level 1, and your Centaur is level 2. Because you guys have zoned him decently, but not super, super well, which is not surprising because it's hard to zone him. So you're kind of just trading evenly, in my opinion, is kind of what it feels like. You're going to get a bounty rune and all, you're healing back up, but honestly, pulling is super important. Like, even killing this guy is actually so hard. Like, you just spent all your time. Okay, you guys are going to actually get him, but okay, that was good. He's kind of just suicide. But almost always your goal when you're playing support, what you need to do is look at the creep wave. And if the creep wave is going to push, and that's what happens whenever you get more range creeps, basically, it's going to push, which means that you should be prepping for a pull. And honestly, I would have even delayed your boots purchase, because by buying boots first, you were too late to pull this camp into the creep wave. And that was actually really important for you to pull this creep wave to the right, because it has multiple range creeps. Because the Centaur can basically walk to the lane now and get the experience for these, which is going to give him at least like level 3, I think. Maybe not, almost. Did another side pull, and again, this is great. You're side pulling, but the problem is that you're not getting any experience. All you're doing is denying experience from the Centaur. But instead you could pull and pull through. The only time that works usually is when your carry also pushes at the same time, and that's something you have to play around. Like, for example, because what's happening right now is every single time that you pull, this creep wave is just running up freely, right? And as a result, most carries will grab the creep wave and they'll run it to the tower to last hit it. But by doing that, it basically allows the Centaur to move wherever he wants in this area, because there's no creeps to spot him and there's no creeps to damage him. So it makes it harder for your supports to actually make sure that Centaur doesn't contest the pull, steal the last hits, if you're not also pushing in conjunction. Because let's say your core could kill this creep wave really fast, and he was just standing here, and there was no creeps, and the other creeps were dying over here. That would give you guys full reign to actually chase after him, for example. So another reason why doing pulling like this is sometimes detrimental. And you didn't also keep track of the range creep, so now this just fully got denied from you guys, so even less experience for you.
A gift from the tempest of battle.
So again, you're doing an okay job zoning him. Again, shouldn't be using this offensively, because this guy's going to have a shrine and you're not. Just really, really dangerous. I like the Fatal Bonds was good there. I wouldn't even go for the boundary. Again, start the pull. Every time you miss one of these, it's hurting you so bad. Because if you pull this through right now, this creep wave will not be got by him. But instead, what are you doing? You're walking forward to slap a tower 4 times? What's the point? Instead, you could get this experience in this last hits, and some of these experience in last hits. But none of that's ever going to happen. And your Pugna is always under-leveled as well, because you're pretty much always standing in lane. Any experience that you guys have gotten in this game has been as a result of either Centaur dying or of creep waves dying. So even though this guy's died twice, I don't even think he's in that bad of a position, because he's got really good levels. Like, his net worth is not good, but he's got pretty good levels. And the faster he hits 6 is the faster that he can actually start helping his team get ganks off. But instead, all you're doing, your entire game right now is doing stack pulls and trying to zone the offlaner and trying to kill the offlaner. But Warlock's not really the best for that. He's good at zoning and stuff, but you're not good at killing. And you've missed at least like 4 opportunities, I think, to get pulse going so far this game, which again means that you're actually not contributing much to this game. I think you've done a pretty good job of trying to zone the Centaur. he's died a few times, but you have done a very poor job of getting yourself resources and also denying resources in the meantime. And again, because of this, your Pugna could be level 5 right now at least. And then the more you pull and the more levels you get by yourself means you guys both profit more because you're getting extra experience. And then when it comes to killing Centaur, it's even easier because Pugna is going to have more levels. So you finally did your first single pull, but man, we're 5 minutes into the game. And the biggest thing that affects supports in the early game, by far, especially tri-lane supports, is how often you pull. That is the most huge determining factor. That changes everything. No reason not to pull through here, honestly. There's actually no reason. The only reason you would want to do this is if you want to stack and pull through, or I'm sorry, do a single pull into a push, because if you let these slowly kill the creep wave instead of auto attacking, it will stack up, and then when the wave comes, you'll have 2 waves of creeps basically. Pretty much same problem here. These creeps could have been over here, getting killed. On the bright side, your Pugna does have AoE, so he'll be decent at killing these later. It's going to take a lot of damage, that's for sure. I would also consider getting Observer Wards, maybe. Part of the problem, some of the issue is you're also TPing way too late here. Okay, you're actually going to save this guy's life now. Maybe not. I think you TP'd too late, and honestly, I maybe would have just wished you stayed, perhaps. Glad that you're staying here for last hits and experience. That's good, because your guy's gone anyways, so it makes sense. That's pretty scary. You can definitely trade with this guy well. Your tech moving pretty well. I don't think I would ward. I think that one was safe, but it was kind of dangerous to do because there's a likelihood that, or possibility that he saw you place the ward, but he didn't, so it's fine. You're checking for bounty rune, that's way gone. I don't even think you should have bothered, personally. Especially because there were so many heroes in the area, you kind of wasted, what, 5-10 seconds there? Instead, you could be in the offlane, for example, trying to help kill the... I'm confused. It's been a different hero than I thought dying there. So your mid player kind of just left, which is kind of weird. It's kind of good for you because now you're going to be able to get experience here. Against the Shadow Fiend's not really the best though. I would heal yourself. As soon as the Centaur ulti comes out, you should be healing yourself. And the other thing to keep in mind is that Shadow Fiend is basically, his raise potential is all based on how close you are to him. If he starts the fight at melee range, it's best for him because then he can do a short raise. And if you ever want to run, he has up to 2 raises to hit you with. But the problem was that because you were trying to juke so much, what would have been better, like as soon as this got used, you should be like, oh man, he can run at me now. Because he doesn't have disable, you don't have disable. You should be worried about him getting as close as possible to you. So you should instantly, like here, pop heal and start running. But you reacted really late. Like by the time you started running, he was already most of the way to you. And you should realize that like he's obviously running at you. You're gonna take damage. Cast your heal as early as possible because every tick that goes through increases your chance of actually surviving. Because you're already missing 80 HP, you could take this like almost 3 times with it without it even mattering. You casted heal finally, but technically he should have done a short raise there because you were really close to him, and then 100% he kills you. But instead, because you're spending so much time juking back and forth, you're not maximizing your movement speed, and his stampede already ran out. So if you had just instantly casted heal and started running in a straight line, it increased your chance of actually surviving there. Wow, that was really dangerous, but it worked out. Okay, so at this point, I would consider buying a Raindrop, I think. I would get a Raindrop because it's going to give you a lot of passive mana regen and also give you some nice survivability against potential burst, against magic nukes, whether it's a Hoof Stomp or a Double Edge or something like that. I would also consider maxing Fatal Wands this game, I guess, because of your Pugna. Him having AoE is really strong. That if you link people together, they'll end up dying a lot faster. You cast your heal right away, that was great. If you had a raindrop, 100% you live there, because you died with that last right click. And when you left the base, you had 400 gold. At the least, you could have purchased 2 ironwood branches and a circlet or something. I don't know what you're saving up for. I assume you're saving for arcane boots, but this is by far, assuming you're buying arcane, this is by far the most common mistake that I've seen noob warlock players make, is that they think that they need arcanes. But look at your mana cost right now. You can cast Shadow Word every 16 seconds maximum, and Fatal Bonds every 22 seconds. That means to burn through your mana pool, you'd have to cast Shadow Word like 4 times, which is about a minute of time. And even then, how many times are you going to have the opportunity or need to cast Shadow Word 4 times? It's very rarely. So what's more important on your hero is just becoming a little mana sufficient, survivable in burst periods, because of the fact that you have no disable and you don't have a way to keep yourself alive other than heal. So you should increase your HP, you should increase your survivability to burst, you should get a wand ideally, because that will keep you survivable. It'll give you base stats, it'll give you more mana pool. You can use that mana to help heal yourself more often. That is an item that you should buy early on with Warlock, is like Magic Wand with you can get an urn maybe, you can get a medallion maybe. Those are the items that are really good. It's either that or you're farming for a Midas. And personally, I'm not always the biggest fan of Midas myself. I think it can be kind of a waste. I probably would have Fatal Bonded this. I think it would have been decent to do. TP to the bot lane here. I would heal this guy. You were a little bit late on this. I would have healed him right here. This guy's getting ran at. It's an Undying, which means that if Undying lives during the fight and stays alive just barely, he kills like 4 people. So instantly you got to predict this and be like, hey, this guy's about to take a shitload of damage. You casted Fatal Bonds in time, but you casted your heal way too late, because at this point this guy's already at half HP. In your defense, he didn't use his skills very rapidly. Like instantly, he should have been like Tombstone, Magic Stick, Flesh Golem, like the works basically. I don't even think he casted. I mean, he could have easily just pressed his Magic Stick. But because that guy dies instantly, you lose Tombstone, you lose teamfight potential. Everything sucks, basically. Whereas that would have been okay, reasonably, otherwise. So, still greeding out gold. Still assume you're going to Midas. I'm just honestly just not the biggest fan of Midas on this hero, because your hero's not very survivable. Yeah, you can't farm very fast, and yes, you get an experience gain perk, and yes, more levels of your ulti are great, but I don't think it's super important. I prefer personally like battling with heroes like Warlock and AA most of the time, the heroes that typically get Midas for those reasons. I'd rather you just become survivable. I also think the place you're standing here is not super great, because, oops, sorry, my mouse is moving on my table. If you're going to hide, you should be hiding inside trees to ensure nobody sees you, but you're just like half tucked into the tree, and they had a ward right there, which means that they probably know where you are if they have vision of some kind. Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, yeah, it is Arcanes. So basically, like, for the first 12 minutes in the game, all that you had for your personal survivability was brown boots. That's it. No magic stick, no raindrops, no magic wand, you had no armor pieces, you just had gold sitting. And when you're playing a hero like Warlock, that's super dangerous to do. And the only way that you can get away with it, in my opinion, is if you're better at pulling. And if we think back at all the pulling that you could have done, that would have gotten you more last hits. You've got 7 last hits right now, 12 minutes. That could easily be like 12, 15. Because the more pulling you get done and the more last hits you get, it makes that large range of you trying to greed out an arcane boots, it makes it so much shorter. And by the time it comes, it'll come at a point where by the time you actually get the arcane boots, is what I'm trying to say, it'll be before the part where you're moving around, taking team fights, stuff like that. So you've been like participating in ganks and team fights and stuff with just gold in the bank. That hasn't really helped you very much. And even right now, you got arcane boots and you were missing like literally 50 mana, almost nothing. And what are you going to cast a spell on right now? You can't use your skills to farm. Your HP is full, so there's no reason for you to cast Shadow Word. You're basically just sitting around waiting. That's why Arcane Boots is so bad. So basically, when you're playing Dota, it's so important that you spend your gold on things that are actually going to make your hero better. Like, look at Warlock's skills. What are his mana needs? What are his needs in the game? Your needs are you stay alive during short periods of time when people try to burst you. They are maybe a little bit of mana regen. That way you can continue casting spells. Maybe you want to have Arcane to give your allies mana, but do you really want to spend the first 900 gold you get after boots on trying to help other people get mana? Is that because every time you die, you're giving your opponents like 200, 300 gold. That's what you should be worried about, is being a Midas for your opponents. And buying Arcane Boots doesn't solve that problem at all. You have 860 HP, you have crap armor, you have pretty crap movement speed. You're entirely reliant on your allies and backing them up. So yeah, you can make this work, but it requires very safe positioning, good play, and a fast acceleration into Arcane Boots. It's just not worth it to rush it, as far as I'm concerned. Instead of Arcanes, you could add Magic Wand and a Bracer or something like that. Or Magic Wand and a Cloak. Or Magic Wand, Raindrop, and I don't know, something else. So your 6 comes late, 13 minutes is definitely late. Your Arcane Boots are slow, and everything goes back to the pulling. It's all about the pulling. The better you pull, the better you rotate afterwards. You can hit level 6 at 8 minutes, 9 minutes if you're doing really well. You were doing decent, but you didn't get your levels quite fast enough. It's not as bad, like this game was not atrocious, but it was definitely poor, I would say. And your deaths were as a result of you not spending your money. At least the first one, the one against the Centaur and the Rubik, 100% was because you didn't spend your money. Your positioning is okay here. I would prefer that you're standing over here instead. Over here, it takes you a long time to walk this distance to initiate, whereas if you're standing right here, you're ready to go and nobody's ever going to check. So your positioning is slightly bad. Because if you're standing here and your Undying is here, to defend him, you have to walk like this far just to drop a rock. And to heal him, you have to walk like to here. So if you're here, it's easier. You drop the rock, he drops the tombstone, you drop Fatal Bonds, maybe you kill this guy. Honestly, I think you guys maybe should have tried for it. It's kind of hard to kill him, I guess, but might have been worth trying. Alright, TP top lane. I'm going to take a look at this from your player perspective. So I want to see what you saw before you TP'd, because that's important sometimes. I don't know if you're on voice comms with these guys or not, but if so, obviously that makes a difference. But you kind of TP'd a little early in my opinion. Definitely should be chasing here, and yep, this is exactly where your golem should have been, which is spotting for heroes that were chasing. The problem is that you guys had no disable by the time you TP'd in, so even dropping the rock was a little bit weak.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Your camera position was really bad right there. If you're pushing a tower, your camera should not be like this. Like, I can see 2 heroes on the map right now, but I don't know who they are, I don't know what their HPs are, and I don't know what their mana are. The place your camera should be is your golem should be right here, your hero should be where it is, and your camera should be like this. Because you know that your hero's hitting the tower, but you need to see who's here. You can click on their items, check their levels. Like, I know these guys have everything because their mana is full, basically. But you don't really know that. And as a result, you're late to even get up here and cast your Shadow Word. Using your golem plus Pugna is very good. I like this. It's kind of a cool strat. You have no TPs, you have no smokes, you have no wands. You are healing your mana back up, which is good, but you know, you can solve this with cheaper items. Oh, that was a huge kill. This Pudge is ownage, man. So now you're walking across the whole map just to get there. And now let's look at your next item. So you're going to buy a Force Staff. Great item to have, but let's think about what Force Staff actually gives you. It's going to give you 10 intelligence, which helps solve some of your mana problems. It's going to give you a little bit of spell amp, which doesn't matter, and it's going to give you HP regen. The HP regen's kind of wasted because you've got that covered with Shadow Word. And the int is, again, another piece of overkill that you're currently going to have. You are going to have like 2 to 3 units of mana, like 2 units of mana regen, 1.5 maybe, which is way too much. You need like, and by unit I mean like, let's categorize like how much of something you're buying. You're buying way too much mana pool and way too much mana regen. Like mana pool, the Staff of Wizardry covers it instantly, covered by mana pool, because it gives you 10 int. That's more than enough int that you need. Then you just need a little bit of mana regen on top of that in your set, which could literally be a Raindrop or maybe a Medallion you could buy just to have because they have a couple right-click heroes and it would help make your allies survivable. Or maybe you buy a Drum of Endurance instead because it gives you, it's like a bracer, but it gives you 50% mana regen and it makes your hero faster. And if you pop the drum, it makes your allies team fight better, which is actually kind of cool, right? Because it's an aura, it could make your golem run faster and attack faster during moments when you actually ulti. That would be kind of cool. Maybe drum makes sense. Maybe Brown Boots, Magic Wand Drum is the Warlock build that'll be better in their early game. I guarantee it's better than Arcane Boots. yes, this is easier to use. You can buy it at the side shop, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't increase your HP. It doesn't give you anything utility. And by utility, I mean this makes you run faster. You can choose to run faster in short periods of times, things like that. It doesn't give you any of that. This is super dangerous. You cannot walk up a cliff like this. Let's look at your perspective, because I want to see what you guys can actually see as you're approaching this. You don't have your ulti. You're walking forward. I guess you have some decent vision. But this is instantly, as soon as you see the centaur, you are way out of position. Like, you guys can't approach a fight like this, which is basically them on the high ground, you guys walking up through a narrow maze, and there's like swing around potential. Just way too dangerous for you guys to do that. If you don't have your ulti, you don't approach that. Instead, you're changing to go to a Glimmer Cape, which is a good choice. But again, your max HP is very low. Your armor is very low. It's a decent item, but you're not buying enough items that transition you to that. You still don't have a magic wand. Still no raindrops. No windlace. Like, at the least, you should have a windlace. You need all these inexpensive sort of items that make you better in the early game, and you haven't bought any of them. You actually bought 0. You're not carrying a sentry ward in case you need it. You're not carrying an observer ward in case you're somewhere on the map you need to push. You're not carrying a smoke in case you need to pop a smoke and go get something done. You're just running bare bones your levels, basically. And your levels at this point are not good. So, now that you have your ultis up again, and now you're queuing up Hand of Midas, which, again, this is already way too late. You should have your Hand of Midas, like, nowish or earlier. Like, buying a late Hand of Midas, just not worth it. The attack speed is wasted on your hero. Yes, it accelerates your levels, but you can do that by hitting creeps or something else, or participating in fights more. Like, the best way to get gold is pop one of these babies. You got smokes. I don't know if you have any in the shop or not, but pop a smoke, go somewhere with, like, Pugna and Pudge, and you can kill any hero in the game, 100%. Unless they're super mobile, is maybe the one way. Observer ward is killed, that's great. Fucks an entry. Again, you guys are reacting late. Glad you didn't rock that. Would have been a waste. Guys win the fight. The reason a lot of these fights are going bad, though, is because you guys are always reacting, and your heroes are not super good at reacting. Your heroes are better at being aggressive. So that's what I mean by smokes. You guys could show up somewhere and get a kill by taking a fight really fast. But instead what's happening is they're running 3 to 4 heroes at your lone druid, jumping on them, using all their skills, and then you guys get there 4 seconds later. Which basically means your lone druid always dies, and sometimes you guys get clean up. So the reason that's happening is because nothing else is happening on the map. You guys are just kind of sitting on your side of the map and occasionally waiting for something to happen. And sometimes stuff happens. But if you don't start the fight, you're always on the back foot when the team fights start. Good rock, I was into that. Ooh, that was unfortunate. You really shouldn't have gone that stolen. And now you're actually screwed. Bought the Gloves of Haste, which is okay. Yeah, just make sure you Fatal Bonds faster next time with a Rubik in the game. It's a really big mistake. Your lone druid went Midas, I believe, which I think is sort of okay. I mean, this hero's bad right now, but actually, I haven't played him since the patch, but I'd say this hero's probably bad right now. Looks like he's going the Radiance build. 250 health, that's not bad. Now basically you guys lose the fight. This is not safe in the slightest. Like, why would you come up after your tower is dead to cast Upheaval level 1? What's the point? Even if that is going to be effective, you're against a disruptor, so as soon as you're out of position, it's an easy kill. So let's look at your net worth. This shows a huge outlier. The fact that you're this far behind everybody in the game is a big problem. And it's as a result of the way that you're playing your playstyle. So again, talk about how Warlock works as a hero. You react to... You're basically a very strong lane hero, and you're a very strong teamfight hero. You're not a very good gank hero, and you're a really bad passive farmer hero. So let's think about how that matches up to how you're playing this game. You're not passive farming well in the opportunities that you do have. You're not pulling well enough in the early game, which delays your 6th, which is actually what makes you good at team fighting. So your ability to use your hero's strengths are just delayed. You did the lane support part really well, I think, but you didn't do the accelerate you to fast level 6, participating team fight thing. And the way that you're moving around the map is in no way going to make good benefit of your hero's team fight skills or your sustain skills at all. because what you need to do is make sure lanes are pushed, and then you would sit over here as people push the tower and you drop the rock if a fight happens. That's basically what you should be doing. But instead, you guys are basically just going places on your side of the map, standing around watching people farm, reacting to people diving your allies by TPing. It's all slow, and that's why your net worth is really shit, because of all those things, because of the way you're playing in the early game, and because of the way you're trying to play mid game. And by mid game, I mean when you guys should be moving around the map, taking fights and ganks, and of the way that your hero naturally is, which is not gaining farm fast. And that's another reason why this Midas pickup is just so not worth it, because it's just going to be really delayed, simply put. Now you guys are taking fights, but you're all separated, so you're just all getting blown up really easily. That was good. So your team wins a really good fight. Again, your item build is also not helping you either. And the big point that I just made about your playstyle and how the hero works, your item build is not making it any better. Your Arcanes is not really good for farming. Even if you were farming, you'd want more Fatal Bonds and less Shadow Word. You could go like 3-3 or something is probably reasonable. And it also doesn't make you more survivable in these ganks that are happening. It'd be better for you to have like a wand or a little bit of movement speed or something like that. Now you're pushing lanes out. You should use Fatal Bonds here to push it a little bit faster. Now you're going to push a lane, or to put a ward down. But again, like, if you just had Fatal Bonds maxed out here, you nuke this wave, the wave dies, and you'll maybe get some of the last hits, and this will therefore push the wave. Whereas instead, this is pretty much static. This wave is even, which means that your opponents are going to pretty much feel safe playing anywhere here, because the creep wave is up here. So by pushing the wave, it helps ensure that you have more space on the map to get vision, basically. And I also don't know why you walked all the way over here without warding. I think if you're all the way over here, put a ward down here, here. Anywhere in this area is fine. I don't know if you saw the troll and got scared or what, but it would have been a lot better if you had put the ward down. Alright, looks like your allies are doing stuff maybe, so you're TPing over. Like, see these items? Like, if you're ever in a position where you have like item slots that you never used, you are fucking up, basically. Like it's like the Suraction Slacks problem. He'll just have like Soul Ring, Arcane Boots, Mech, nothing else. Maybe a ward, maybe a TP. But if you have empty item slots, there's a mistake, because item slots, like, think of items really quick. Ironwood Branch is the most efficient item in the game, basically. For 50 gold, you get 3 stats. Whereas if you buy an Ultimate Orb, for example, it's not going to show. Oh, it was there. If you buy an Ultimate Orb, for example, you're getting 30 stats for 2150 gold, which is 10 times more stats, but it costs way more, because 10 times more would be 500 gold. So this costs 4 times more gold, more than 4. That means Ultimate Orb is less efficient per gold than Ironwood Branch is. All items are like that. The ones that are most efficient cost the least gold, and they don't give a huge amount. But so that basically means that just by having like 2 Ironwood Branches in your inventory, you would be more efficient, because you'd actually be utilizing your inventory spaces, because these are resources as well. You should always be utilizing all of your resource space, because there's probably some efficient item you can fit in there, like Ring of Aquila, for example. This item costs you 985 gold, and if you're an agility hero, it gives you 19 damage, which is insane. It gives you 9 attack speed, 19 damage, 60 HP, and what is it, 33 mana or something. And it also gives you 2 bonus armor and a mana regen aura. It's super efficient for 900 gold. It's actually amazing as an agility hero. And there's items like that for int heroes as well. Like Windlace is a great example. Something that's going to help you get into position faster, get out of position, get out of bad position faster. Things like Magic Wand. It gives you +4 to all stats. That's 80 HP. And if you use 17 charges, let's do the math really quick. Calculate how much that is. By the way, this is a 465 gold item. And if there are 17 spells cast, multiply that by 15, or 17 times 15. Yeah, that's right. It'll give you 255 HP. So if we think of a Magic Wand as it giving you 80 HP, and let's assume that it builds up 17 charges, and we add plus 80 to that, that means Magic Wand is basically a 335 HP item for 465 gold, which is insane value. And if we compare that to other items, a Vit Booster gives you 250 health for 1100 gold, and a Magic Wand costs like almost a third of the same. It's like Like that, those are the things you got to think about. How can I make my hero as effective at all stages of the game? That way there's a slightly lower chance that I die in these certain situations. Because if you don't die, that means you might get the kill. Then that'll mean that you get experience because people are dying, things like that. But you're completely missing the boat on efficiency for your item build. Like completely. And you're completely missing the boat on cheap, effective items. And the gold that you are spending is not very effective. Like, Glimmer Cape is great. And it's very good on Warlock too, I would say. Maybe not very good, but good on Warlock. Situationally very good. But I prefer you had like brown boots into Glimmer. Or even like Tranquil Boots is really good. It makes you super fast, 90 movement speed. This gives you 50 movement speed, and it costs you 1,300 gold. This costs you 975. And it gives you so much HP regen that you'd never even have to cast Shadow Word on yourself, which in some ways you can think of as a mana regen item, because now you don't have to cast Shadow Word on yourself to keep yourself alive, because Tranquil Boots will cover it. But the big part is definitely the movement speed. That you're always going to be faster. So when you're walking to catch up to a team fight or something like that, you'll get there faster. And then you can do Tranquil Boots plus a Windlace. Makes it even better. So the way that you're playing right now is basically you're sitting around waiting for something to happen, basically. So pretty much you winning or losing these games all comes down to how the team fights go. Almost entirely. So if you ever feel like your games are very like wishy-washy, like sometimes they go really well, sometimes they go really bad, the reason that happens for players with your playstyle and your skill level is because you are not taking hold of the situation in any way. Except for team fights. You're zoning decently, but you're not pulling really well to accelerate yourself, and you're not creating things happening. You're just waiting and sitting around until things happen. So if your opponents mis-execute their team fights and you're playing Warlock, you're going to punish them like crazy and you're going to get a shitload of gold. But if you never actually win a team fight, you're going to have this much net worth and be this level, bottom of the board. This is for no other reason than the way that you're playing, basically. I wouldn't blame your allies in the slightest about your position in this game, and I would only blame yourself, which is not pulling enough and not creating action on the map, which is like push lanes and then take a fight offensively without them knowing that you're there, pretty much. So almost everything is you waiting for something to happen that you can react to in a positive way. Is basically your game plan right now. Same thing here, pretty much. And now you're gonna rock, and hopefully it goes well. Fatal Bond's onto you. By the way, this is another reason why it'd be great to have Fatal Bonds maxed right now. Because in a big team fight situation, you're probably not even casting Shadow Word most of the time. I'd prefer at least like 3 of each. Because if Fatal Bonds only latches to 4 heroes instead of 6, then that's a big difference. I don't know if it caught a lot. It looks like it just caught these two because they're the closest together. But I just kind of wish that you had more levels, because you could use to push lanes and farm a little bit and team fight better. Because now when you're channeling Upheaval, for example, you're not getting any benefit from Shadow Word. And this was the other problem, is that your rock was a little bit bad, I'd say. Let's take a look at the fight again. This tower's almost dead. You guys are just now approaching, so very late. And ideally what would happen would be they go on either Purge or Undying, because those heroes are most survivable. You guys do not have a glyph. This guy goes in, he misses, you're going to catch 2, but the problem is basically you guys don't have Disable. And Pudge can't land a hook either. So maybe even if you had more points in Upheaval, for example, what if you went 2-2-2 or something, 2-2-3 or something? And then these guys would be slowed faster, which would keep them under the Tombstone and the Netherward. That would have been cooler, actually, and it would have made your abilities actually fit together in a really good way if you had more Upheaval. Because if you look at your lineup, you guys do have really bad disables. You have no reliable stuns other than Chaotic Offering, and that's basically it. So you should have looked at that and been like, what is my team missing? We have really good team fight because we have Tombstone, we have Netherward, and Pudge is good at team fighting, I'm good at team fighting, so you should think, we don't have Disable, maybe I should get more Upheaval this game. And I feel like at least 2 points is pretty darn value. I don't know if I'd ever get 4 early, because the difference between level 3 and level 4 is maybe not that big. But the difference between like 1, 2, and 3 are pretty huge. And you maybe could have casted this better as well. Let's see if we can see your cast range here. This is the center of the circle. And you basically casted it right here. Instead, what you should have done is put it behind your opponents, ideally. So for, let's watch the moment they initiated. Okay. Let's slow this down. So this is the center of the circle that we can put it on. Oops. Instead, the place you put it was here. Put a circle kind of here. What would have been better, especially if you had a little bit of movement speed, for example, you move forward and you put upheaval in this position. That way, it takes them a couple seconds to walk through it. Instead, this guy's instantly out of the upheaval, pretty much right away, and it barely affected him. I don't know how much it slowed him by, but not much. And they're out, and your golem dies, and nobody's able to follow up, and they get out of range of everything. This guy landed a baller hook, but next issue is you guys don't have sentries, and these guys have a Shadow Blade, so you're going to lose this fight 100%. Instantly, once he does that, everything shit hits the fan. Alright, you guys still won the fight because this guy did a baller roar, which forced this guy out. But that was a very dangerous fight. They got Glimmer Capes. Interesting. I know that was a mistake. I just think it's funny. Dude, this Pudge is actually such a baller. Be a great time to have a magic wand, and you're really close to your Hand of Midas, so that sucks. Okay, the fight went okay, and now look at your net worth. See how different it is now? Now it's kind of close to the group, and that's all as a result of being alive during the fight and getting some gold change here and some levels and stuff. So that fight actually really changed the game for you guys. But imagine if that fight just went a little bit worse and you guys lost right there. I feel like the game just ends, because basically they would get another tier 2. They would have a really easy way to get Roche. They could take this as well, and very, very soon they'd probably just go high ground and end the game. Most likely. Maybe you get hooked and come back in it. So you guys are doing fine. Like after winning that fight, it's all okay. But your ability to participate in this game was entirely based on whether that fight went well or not. Is kind of what it feels like. And that was the first time in the game where it felt like you were a little rich. You almost had Hand of Midas. But again, we're 25 minutes in the game, so it's not exactly fast. And even still, how are you getting farm? This is the way, right? You're, right-clicking camps? That's pretty much it. That's all you can do. Goodbye, Pudge. Head on down. Still 200 gold away. I personally would have kept pushing mid lane to get more last hits, I think. But it's good that you're also coming down here, I think. Ooh, that was really unfortunate for the Lone Druid. So the way to protect against stuff like that is pretty simple. You just say like, hey, we're definitely going to go push the bot lane because there's a tower there and it'd be a good place to take a fight. And then what you do is you see where the tower range is by holding alt, and you put a sentry right outside of it. And then you stand about where the sentry is. That way, as the Shadow Fiend comes in and tries to do that, you're going to be protected. So a lot of the reason that this guy is doing well in teamfights is because he keeps getting these Shadow Blade ultis off. And the easiest way to do that, you might think like, I have the sentry the whole map. It's not safe for me to ward anywhere. So I don't feel like I can farm passively. I don't feel like I can do anything. What you do is get a sentry ward and you push a lane and it only costs you 100 gold. You put the ward here and your team hits the tower and you hide in the trees. And then if he shows up, you drop the rock on him and you try to kill him underneath the sentry, ideally. And then it allows you to kill the... What the fuck are sentries? Like, that's exactly correct. It's difficult to put sentries ever on the map. Like, that's definitely hard to do. Yeah, you pretty much had to rock that, I think. Ooh. Guy got blown up. He went for the health regen. Interesting. So, that was good. Got a golem kill. That's going to get you your Midas. But again, we're pretty late in the game. And I'd also like to point out that if there was like a Slark or something, this Midas here is just not okay. Like, they don't have very good like ganking cores, but if it's a Slark with a Shadow Blade, that guy's going to kill you over and over and over again, basically. Even this guy is a huge threat, because if he gets on top of you, he's just going to kill you. Should heal this guy. It's too late though. They're actually just burning each other. That's pretty funny. Alright, that was good. I think you sacrificed yourself, but I think this is worth it. And you also got to use your Midas first. That was pretty good. Glad you did that. This is kind of counterintuitive for you to go for 6 stats without getting the experience gain. I feel like if you go Midas, you definitely get the experience gain, because it's going to amplify the experience you get from the Midas by 20%. That's a big difference. If you go for the other item build, kind of like what I was talking about, like survivability items, stuff like that, I think 6 stats is completely reasonable to get on Warlock. because it just increases your overall survivability. That's really good to have. Also, if you had Tranquils and a Windlace, there's a small chance that you actually escape there. Or at least makes it a lot harder for them to kill you. Got a Sentry finally, which is good. Got 3 upheavals. I would probably leave it at 3. And then max out Fatal Bonds. Again, I would still wish you only had like 3 Shadow Words. Like a 3-3-3 build on Warlock is actually quite good, I think. Cancelled your animation, or your TP. This guy is going Atos. I don't know which one I get. I guess Nether Blast cooldown is more important usually, but there's probably some times where Decrep is better. Just happened there. Oh, it's you hitting creeps, okay. This guy just sprinted in. It's good. You could be hitting him. Okay, you did eventually. I guess it was Decrep, that's probably why. Heal, heal, heal. You are so late for this. Like, after this happens, especially the Static Storm, people are missing HP. Like, there's no way that right after this ends that you don't cast Shadow Word on somebody, either yourself or the Pudge. I personally would have probably done Pudge, but even like the Lone Druid's not a bad idea. Like, Shadow Word has to go on somebody. Instead you go for Upheaval. Now you're probably going to drop the Rock, I imagine. Maybe not. Maybe you're just going to stick with the Upheaval. Okay, good. I thought that guy didn't get caught. I was confused. Dropping the Rock wasn't worth it there, in my opinion, because they were kind of far away. Again, you have to read when it's time to drop it. Like, is your team going to get follow up? Basically, should be your wonder. I'm really surprised this guy isn't in bear mode. There's pretty much no reason for him not to be, because he just gets 900 bonus HP. Other than the fact that he'd be melee, but he's getting all of the bear perks, so kind of weird. This would be a good place to put a sentry. I would put it like right here, or maybe over here a little bit. That way you can protect a bit against the Shadow Fiend. Killing the bear is great. Putting a ward down, I like that. That's good. But again, you guys really need a sentry ward. Your team is actually so good at pushing towers. Maybe this is the plan with the Pugna. Alright, he finally made. Oh, he's got the ugly ass bear cosmetic. I hate this one. It actually creeps me out. It's like the creepiest thing ever. Look at this thing. Ugh. Who would ever equip that? Is this the same set that Admiral Bulldog uses? I'm not sure. This guy plays a lot of Lone Druid, that's for sure. I know Admiral Bulldog's icon is this as well, so. But I doubt this is Admiral Bulldog. This guy plays a lot of Lone Druid. So, Midas is used. You got a Glimmer Cape now. You still don't have any you still don't have any mana regen other than Arcanes, and HP regen other than Shadow Word, but whatever. I would go for cast range this game, I think. But that said, Shadow Word's actually very good this game. Instantly, your heal should go down. Again, you're reacting poorly. Look at it this way. They use Stampede. You know that shit's about to hit the fan. This guy gets glimpsed back. Pretty much all signs tell that this guy's going to be the one to initiate on. What you're probably thinking right now is like, hey, I should try to save somebody. Let's react. What you should do is, before the damage even comes, is you put the heal on somebody. Like, let's say, for example, they jump on Undyne instead and they kill Undyne. Oh, well. Like, what's better is if you prep the Shadow Word. Because if you wait until they start doing damage, then Shadow Word's probably going to be too late. Because then you have to react. Oh, this guy's taking damage. Now I'm going to start casting Shadow Word on the Pugna. And then you start casting it. But by the time you finally react in that way, like, if you casted it right there, this guy's already at half HP. He's already screwed. But if you had prepped a little bit, casted Shadow Word on the Pugna, and used Glimmer Cape on him, he would have taken, like, half of the damage. And he would have been healed for 45 HP per second in the downtime. And then you could start upheaval. Like, your upheaval is good here. You're slowing people, but everybody's dead. There's no reason. Like, it's already... The fight's over, pretty much. Next problem is your next item. It doesn't really fit together well with the previous items you've gotten. Let's talk about what an Ags does. Ags gives you lots of raw HP, which you have pretty good of because Warlock has a good strength gain. Gives you lots of raw HP. It gives you lots of raw mana. The thing that you have the most of this game is basically raw mana. You already have too much raw mana from Arcane Boots. And your raw HP is a little bit high right now, and by raw HP, I mean I want to know what your balance of how much HP you have to what your resistances are. Your resistance to magic is pretty good right now. Your resistance to physical is pretty bad. You only have 5 armor. It's not good. 5 armor is decent, but it's not very high. If you had like a medallion, for example, imagine if you had like brown boots, Midas, glimmer cape, medallion. I would like that so much better than the build that you currently have. Because then once you make an Ags afterwards, it continues to make your item build better. You don't have overkill. You have way too many units of mana regen. You have way more than you would ever need, basically. This guy should probably be killed. So by buying Ags, it's going to give you a double golem, and that's really good and all. But I think something like a Force Staff is probably better, personally. Golem is pretty good. You went for the Glimmer Upheaval. Healed yourself, which I think is good. That guy died. You have to be really careful about the SF here. Okay, it's pretty good. I don't think I would hit Roche with this. I guess that's fine. I'll do it a little bit faster. Certainly tanks it well. Now you're going to probably start buying your Axe components. You did go cast range. Again, I maybe would have gone Shadow Word just because you can use it to spam on the bear, for example. So if you're CG in high ground, you could just spam it on the bear and he would stay alive longer. Stuff like that is probably okay. Yeah, 12 Spirit Bear Armor is definitely the call of this game. Oh, maybe Lone Druid's playable, I don't know. Oh, decrep somebody, Jesus. That's a very dead hero. And now you don't have a Force Staff, so you're pretty much fucked too. This would be a good time to TP. Fortunately, he's going to get your Observer Ward. And you guys lost Aegis too. That was really unfortunate. Pugna got a Glimmer. You guys shouldn't have been there anyways. I mean, you don't have Rock. There's no reason for you guys to play around this area. And if they have a Disruptor, you can't. You guys can't, like, miscoordinate and go do different things separately. It's not a good thing to do. It's pretty much the ideal hook. But now he's going to die. These guys are getting fucked up. Ooh, that bear got fucked up. Lone Druid's gonna die. Maybe not. You should be using your heal. People are missing HP, you should be pumping that thing out. It's an important thing when you're playing heroes like Warlock, is keeping track of your allies and their survivability. Still going Ags, of course. Again, the other problem is you've got a Glimmer Cape, which does keep you survivable, but it's the more survivability items you get, the better, basically. Like, if you had a Force Staff right now, you could definitely live, but now you're just completely screwed. Because you could go Invis, then use it to Force afterwards, maybe live, but you're just putting yourself in a bad position consistently by having these items. So you're up to 9 deaths now. This KDA for support's not good. It's way too high in deaths. Your deaths should never be that close to your assists without your kills also being up there too. That was a hard one to hit. His bear's gonna die. They are a very hardy bunch with Pipe and the Greaves. Fatal Bonds is good, Upheaval is fantastic. Very good fight, I would say. That was a good force by them. See where you're at. Oh, you went 4 staff after all. Good. I'm really happy that you did that. I think that was absolutely the right choice. It's more important not to die than it is to have a second golem. Second golem's really good, but it's not the most important thing. So upheaval is no good. This is not where your upheaval needs to be. Your upheaval needs to be like here would be ideal. Somewhere like this or somewhere like this. Probably I'd put something like right here. Limits their ability to come from the side. Good, got your heals out. Probably a little bit too far in here. Alright, you should glimmer the person you think is gonna die. Perfect. Alright, you're doing this well. Fortunately, this guy's just right-clicking and killing the tomb. Alright, this is definitely the time to fight here. Hey, you walked in way too far. Oh, you forced too early, unfortunately. Okay, we're all good. Fatal Bonds is used. Comes the upheaval. Now you guys win the fight 100%. Alright, that was good. You shouldn't be hitting the building, by the way, because it leads to things like this, like where you get static stormed. Your push does not win or die based on you right-clicking or axe. That's never going to be the case. Your push wins or dies based on how effective their abilities are for combos. Like, does he stun 3 heroes? Does he stun 5 heroes, you know? Like, the more heroes that Centaur gets, the worse it is for you guys. So, is it worth it for you to come up and hit this building for a wimpy 112 per hit? It's not. It's better for you to stand in this area, close to them within cast range to support your allies, but you don't want to be so close that you're going to get comboed. It's really important to avoid that. So that you can cast Fatal Bonds and stuff effectively. Which is working really well. Again, don't... In times like these, I really don't think you should be casting your heal offensively. Like, it's almost never worth it late game, in my opinion, to cast Shadow Word to do damage to people. Because this is a shitload of HP. And heals are one of the rarest things in the game. Damage is not rare. So you should be using these heals to make sure your allies don't die. Because if your allies don't die, they have really good disables. That's how you should think about it. Use the skill to keep your allies alive that have better disables than you and better skills than you. Keep your Undyne alive. Keep your Pudge alive. Keep your Spirit Bear alive so you doesn't have to keep resummoning it. That's where you get value of this game. Not by nuking a guy that has 30% HP in a pipe. That's not going to do shit. Like, this is actually doing like 20 damage a tick to this guy. It's just not value. Instead, you could be keeping somebody alive that might die. Like this bear, for example. Midas. It looks like you guys are going to win this with Centaur dead for 100. But boy, was this close. It's a very close game. Fatal Bonds did a lot of work in this game, that's for sure. Again. This one's okay, I think, because your team is like really stomping, but I still would put it on the bear. Keep the bear alive, that's the important thing. Because he just resummoned this, and if it dies, you guys are pretty much screwed. This is fantastic. Alright, that wins you the game. Heal this guy. I guess you have your ulti though, so maybe you save your mana. I would definitely agree that was pretty throwy. Port the LD because he's a bitch. So, Refresher. Okay, I like that, honestly. I personally think that Refresher is sometimes a better option than Aghanim Scepter is. Ags is very good in that you get double the burn and double the cleave and stuff like that, but being able to ulti twice in a row is potentially better, and it fits better with your items that you currently had because it gives you a lot of HP regen, a lot of mana regen. So I would say like your teamfight decisions are pretty good. I would say pretty darn good. Generally, your teamfight decision making is good. So in that way, it probably feels good to play Warlock because your hero does good teamfights, so you can abuse it in a way that is effective. But again, you need to fix your laning mistakes pretty much. All right, I think I am already at an hour and I haven't even touched the second replay. So what I'm gonna do is jump through this one pretty fast. I feel like I covered a lot of the principles that you'll need to perform well. So let's just do that really quick with Venge as well. See if that makes a big difference. See if there's a big difference between these two games. So Venge is a little bit different. Venge is like a lane support, gank hero, teamfight saver, kind of. That's how she works. I don't actually like her with your lineup because your heroes are not super vulnerable. Like a Medusa is not ultra vulnerable, so I would prefer that... oh, there's a Warlock in this game. I would prefer that you had heroes that are like BKB carries, like SF. If SF gets chain stunned and doesn't get his BKB off, he dies. So you swap him out instead. Like something like that would be cool. You're going for 2 tangos, which is fine if you want to do this. 2 clarities against you, pretty heavy on clarities. I still kind of wish you would get Ironwood branches, ideally. Looks like you're invading, which is okay. Pretty good. I would place a ward warrior here. I would put it on the cliff to the right. That's where it should be. Oh, you guys already have one here. I guess that's fine. So you did a lane ward. You might want to be careful. They might have seen you do that. Let's watch the map. Nope, they didn't. We're good. It's very close. The tower spot's right over there. Waiting to see who comes in. It's Avenge.
Thank you.
I thought they were coming straight for you. I was confused. This is good for kill potential because of rot. So I like this. This is great. Waiting for that kill's super solid. Stacking this is good. I would instantly pull small camp. This is what you should do. Alright, you're making a mistake now. Alright, you fucked up. Because I know you're not going to pull the small camp in time. You're basically walking over for what? To wait for the Darkseer? Buy a TP scroll? What about your levels? You could hit level 2 easily. Like, Darkseer's not going to come to lane now. He's going to jungle. Because you guys instantly killed him. And he's not level 2 yet. So he knows it'll happen again. But instead, like, let's look at your timer here. So you stacked at 1. Okay, let's see what you do. Let's see the next impactful thing you do. Alright, you're following the Darkseer. This is good. This is a good solution. I know that means shit. This is pretty good. You got people to react. You're making his jungling a lot harder. But personally, I would have preferred that you pulled. Especially with the Pudge, because if Pudge hits level 2, then he gets a hook as well, which makes everything a lot easier. So you're basically spending 2 of your heroes' time to waste 2 of their heroes' time, which is pretty good. But Spirit Breaker's going to come over here and get levels because the Medusa is stupid and push the lane. And I think you guys kind of overstayed a little bit too much here. Maybe not. Maybe he thought, surely they won't stay longer. I want to say I maybe would have chased. Alright, so you definitely need to get back and get pulling. I would grab the bounty. Alright, you already messed up. Grab the bounty, run to the right, start the pull. Instead, what are you doing? Send up a gank mid at level 2. And you're going to have to cross. Like, this gank is so unlikely. There's actually no way that you land the stun on this guy if he's not a complete dumbass. There's no way. And even putting the sentry here is not good. Because look how much discovery. See the cross section? All of this area here, completely wasted. There's literally no reason for you to place it right here. In fact, it'd be better if you place it more to the right because he could have put it right here on the cliff. So this is, I guess this is one way to make it work. OD banishes. And you guys can run up. Which I guess is not a bad idea. So this actually worked out really well. It's good. Guess I was wrong. But that's basically the only way it works, is a banish into setup. But that was good, definitely. So let's say you're doing pretty darn well. You're not really focusing on pulling, but you're definitely doing a good job at impacting the map really well. I think I'm definitely seeing that right now. Where's the hook? He shouldn't have waited so long. He should have tried to run with him, ideally. This guy's actually a really hard kill, so I'd be careful over here. This game you're buying early game stuff. Magic Stick is really good. Either way, get pulling if possible. You've done exactly 0 pulls this game. Basically, you guys are both functioning the same way in that you're both roaming. But there's times where one of you should pull and one of you should roam. And there's times when both of you should roam. Trying to stack this, but it doesn't work out. Let's look at levels across the game right now. You guys are definitely the lowest. And that's because you haven't pulled and you haven't jungled. You've just been roaming. Your gold impact is good. You guys have gold advantage. But you haven't been guaranteeing yourself any any advantage. And you pulled this late, which means that now there's another creep wave that is delayed. It's basically the same as you standing around doing nothing for 35 seconds, because keep in mind, you basically haven't done anything since you tried to stack this at 5 minutes. So you lost a full half minute right now. Now you've got Observer Wards. I really hope you pull now. Okay, you did. Good, good, good. That was kind of dangerous. Instead, you should have waited here. That way they could attack you. If you wrap around the tree, they have to pass the tree to get vision of you to attack you. So you should have waited here and then drag these spears into your creeps. That would have been the better move. Alright, move over to connect. You shouldn't have gone for that. That's way too greedy. You can almost never get the second one, especially on the gnolls, because these die abnormally fast, more so than anything else. So you should have got the first last hit, moved over, stood here, attacked, and pulled over. You got it to work, but that was really dangerous. I think that's... basically what you just did only works with creeps that are actually fast. If you have like the satyrs are abnormally slow, centaurs and wildkins are actually fast. But if you had a slow camp here, then you probably wouldn't have been able to do this in time. And also wish you would have gotten Wave of Terror, I think. I kind of like the 1 point in Vengeance Aura, but it's a little bit worse, more than it used to be. It's only 10% now. And Wave of Terror would have done way more to nuke the wave. 45 magic damage and -3 armor means you actually kill more of these. You should be auto-attacking like crazy. Because any last hits you can get here is more levels for free. And now you do say hit 6. You see the difference? Like, last game it was basically like you 3 just sitting in the lane consistently, and now it's your Medusa was pretty much solo the whole time. Got decent last hits, very good last hits I would say. She's actually doing fantastic. And she got lots of denies. And she's level 6 because she got 20 denies because she didn't have to like mess around with offlane heroes. So this game was like way better in terms of how you guys did the tri-lane. The only problem of course is that you guys are under leveled because of the fact that you didn't pull enough. If you had pulled like maybe 2 more times fit into here, you'd probably be at like level 4 right now maybe. Or something like that. And now you have all these items. Like honestly, I'm a little flabbergasted that you're the same player right now. Looking at the items that you have right here compared to what you had last game, it just feels completely different. You're like, oh, I'll rush Arcanes, but for what reason? How does it help? Was my worry. I'm glad you guys gave up after that. That was the right move. I'd probably give the clarity to the Pudge here. I think that's a good idea. It's good rotation. Fortunately, he was paying attention. You could have given the clarity, you wouldn't have had to use the mango, for example. Might have been better. Still wish you have Wave of Terror. The output that this gives in a fight is actually huge compared to Vengeance Aura. Yes, you'll have 10% more right-click damage, but it does 45 magic, which is going to reduce to like, I don't know, 35 or something. And -3 armor is like a 18% damage amplification, which is massive. That's a lot of damage. Whereas this is only 10% for base damage. And you can use it to push waves, which is the other thing. This doesn't really help you push waves, which is why the skill is arguably worse in the early game. I can't remember if Venge got any buffs in the last patch or not, but I feel like she's kind of a bad support right now. Very rarely drafted. You standing around I think is a little bit of a waste. I would have popped a clarity a long time ago. You're super over to here. Never mind, he's got arcane boots. Game of Tango, it's all good. Oh, there's an anti-range, I didn't even realize. Ooh, that's actually too bad you weren't there. That would have been a kill.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
10% is just not enough, in my opinion, for me to care early game. I might even skip it early game. I might even go something like 3-2, maybe. Definitely worth it. You could wave a tear up the cliff. Alright, there you go. It's good that you waited a stun, because if you do it earlier, you're just... I mean, you're probably dead. You look pretty dead to me. Yeah, Venge against Huskar is definitely dangerous. Minus armor is probably the best way to deal with it. I like the Tranquil Boots. If you wanted, you also could have gone like Magic Wand or something, but I like Tranquils a lot on Venge because it helps you get in close to initiate. Movement speed definitely helps a lot on this hero. So the way that you're kind of approaching and trying to take these ganks is bad. You need to carry smokes and use those more often. So what you should be doing if you want to get kills with Pudge is basically just get Pudge mana, you guys group, you pop a smoke, and you just run this way. and then you approach from the back. And then if you're coming from the back, Troll's going to die every single time. And you can guarantee that the important skill, the damage skill, Firestorm, is going to be hitting him multiple times when you're killing him, instead of you trying to walk straight at him. The only time it worked this game, where it was like kind of dicey, was because OD can banish the Huskar for 4 seconds. So you're kind of, the way that you're attempting to get ganks off is kind of mediocre, and as a result, because you're roaming, now you're super behind in levels. Because now you're level 4 at 11 minutes, which is way too far. And again, look at your net worth on as according to the graph. I think this game your roaming was honestly pretty good. It was honestly very good. I'm not surprised watching this game that you're 4.4k MMR, because this game kind of makes sense. You're doing good things, you're just not doing it perfectly, and it's getting you behind. But if you'd done like 1, maybe 2 more pulls in the safe lane, everything changes. Everything's a lot better. And some of the ganks and movements that you did make would have been more successful because you would add more levels, or maybe if those ganks go better, you hit more levels. But you've been at 5 kills for 11 minutes. I'd say that's a good thing. But your 6 being delayed makes the game even harder. Because imagine you're 6 and Pudge is 6 or something. You could swap into Dismember and Hook afterwards. Like every single time, you could kill Anti-Mage so easily. But instead, all you're doing kind of is sitting around places mid, when you should instead be more concerned about you getting levels, which the best way would be pulling. So you guys smoking and going somewhere is basically what you need. And you finally did it, but it's been at least a minute, I think. And the way that you even tried to approach this was really sloppy. You can't just run at people. When you have a smoke, you should be using it to ideally get behind. Like ideally, you guys would have smoked 15 seconds ago, and you'd be initiating now from this way in the river, because there's no way the Huskar gets away if you do that. Whereas instead this, it made worse basically by the fact that you walked up and waited. If you had just ran straight at that guy, you probably get the stun off 100%. But I think what you were waiting is trying to see if this guy banished. And he almost did, but then he stopped. And the reason was because the Huskar ran away. And let's look at why the Huskar turned. It's probably because he got the last hit that he wanted to. So the time that you ran in was when no creeps were close to last hitting. And the OD ran up at the same time. So if OD just sat back, and the moment that you ran in was when this creep was almost dead and he was going to last hit it, then you know that he'll stand still. And now this is going to become a really stupid, elaborate chase. He goes for the DD, so as a result, you guys are going to be able to get this kill, I think. But he saved the hook to do the pure damage when he was low, which was smart. Like, as a whole, you guys get the kill, but that should have been cleaner. And the chances, like, I think if that Huskar just kept running, he lives, actually. Because he's slightly faster than the OD is. And the OD was able to catch up. Hitting the building is a plus here. I would have maybe wave a turret over here, with some slight worry that they would show up. The map drawing to the top lane, I don't know if that was your team or their team, but I like that. Stacking first is A+, very good. Medusa, I'm sure, can profit from that. And you're at the top lane, now you're sitting around, still level 4. There's an experience tome, I assume, in the shop. You guys should definitely buy that. I don't know if Pudge used it or not, but the levels are important. At this point, I would just push things. Yeah, I think this is good that you guys are just walking forward to push. Should have wave a turret a little bit to the left to catch both. There's no way this guy will die. He's like, your guys' disable is too weak for that. If you had swap, you could kill him though. If you had swap there, that guy could be killed. Like almost all of these movements are limited by the your limitations in levels. Like your levels are so behind this game. Raindrop is better than Sage's Mask early game by far. Like this is giving you probably like 0.4 mana per second right now, whereas Raindrop would give you 0.8. Boundary Rune puts you to 5, which is good. You're going for stun levels, which I think is okay. Definitely should have stunned first, because now he's out of there. You just got actually schooled. Got the free bash on you. Oh, but he also clipped himself. That's funny. This guy's got a Midas, which is very fast, 4-0 and 3. His net worth is super huge. But basically, you're trying to force things too hard. Venge is honestly not. He's just not the best. She's not the best ganking hero, unfortunately. She just isn't. She's decent at ganking. It's a little reliable, but it's not super reliable. And you guys are 16 minutes in now without your most crucial skills in a lot of ways. I mean, Pudge is better pre-6 than you are, I would say. But your hero is really important for ganking to be 6. Because otherwise, all you have is a shitty disable. You have 1 stun and a really crappy damage amp. But instead you could swap somebody 700 units out of position. That's completely different in impact. It's really unfortunate actually that you left the top lane, because now, oh, that was such a baller stun, or baller hook. Huge hook. That would have given you level 6. Instead you went mid to get experience, which is, that's fine. Did you stack as well? Oh, you tried. Don't miss last hits.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Going for a medallion here, which is very good. I think it's a great choice against Huskar. Finally hit 6. This would be a good time to group with your allies and try to help with a kill. If you were here, that would have been a kill. Like that, you're looking where you're running. Again, same problem. Swap that guy and he dies. Don't open with Wave of Terror, that's not the move. When you cast Wave of Terror, you're standing still. Like, you're pretty close to swap range there. Especially because you have Tranquil Boots. Honestly, you might have been able to catch him, really. Interesting that you backed and smoked. Okay, that guy's actually crazy. Can't believe he lands that shit. If you don't land that, the whole this whole push just kind of changed. I think you should have been diving instantly. As soon as you get that first kill, you guys chase. You should have been running after the Darkseer and going for a swap, 100%. Or you could have just swapped her right away, I believe, after she vacuumed you. This guy gets killed. He does a vac wall. You still have swap. You can swap right now. You could have swapped him in the center of this. And then he probably dies. But look at the pathing you chose. You ran away, you wrapped around. You could have swapped him right away, or you could have ran this way and still been in swap range. Because if you were where Pudge was right now, slightly ahead of him, 100% you get that swap off. And then as soon as he walks this way and starts curving left, I'm like, I can catch him. That's what I would think. And then you can run this way, try to swap him, because you still have enough mana for a swap stun. And now he runs away. But if you get a kill like that, especially a Huskar, and the other heroes are like anti-mage, these guys are not ready to fight early. So it's better for you to try to get as many kills as possible after you get a free pick like the Pudge made for you. Same thing, you should be looking for a swap kill. Again, why are you doing this? You're letting them know that you can see them. You're applying an armor debuff for 15 seconds to somebody that you're not even going to initiate on. If you're trying to get this guy to leave, then that is the best thing you're doing here, is that you're letting them know that you could go on them, but you're not going to, and you prefer not to. Like, why is the Pudge the one that always has to fish for the kills 100%? Like, one of your benefits is that you have a hard stun, and you also have a swap. That's 2 ways you can try to make a gank with Pudge, but instead, you're forcing him to land hooks, you're forcing him to walk into melee range and get rot dismembers. Like, you're not making the game easier for your allies in these team fights. You're just kind of like casting Wave of Terror on people sometimes. Good time to wand. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, you should just be ditching, I think. I would probably juke TP. That was dangerous. I would have gotten in a TP, or gotten into a tree line for sure first. Okay, cool. You got your medallion. Run into the top lane. I still feel like you should have a windlace. I think it's really important on Venge, especially because movement speed is so king. It's very important on this hero. I'd also really consider getting more points of Wave of Terror than Stun, but I think Stun is also very important this game. You guys are a little bit lacking on it, and it's okay. Wave of Terror doesn't scale super well anyways. The best way it actually scales right now is the cooldown. That's the biggest benefit. You place this the wrong way. If we look at their perspective, they will see you place this. Let's watch the map. They see you here. They will see you place this. Boom. If I see that right there, that's the most obvious they planted a ward ever. So when you place that one during daytime, the way that you have to place it without them seeing is you have to go this way. It's kind of a pain in the ass, and place it like over here. It's the only way. You can't, this is all vision from a tower. Make sure you wave a terror earlier. So I think you could have impacted that better. Still think you need Windlace. I don't think that when you're playing Vengeful Spirit, I don't think there's any way that you skip getting Windlace on this hero. You just can't. You can't justify it, in my opinion, because of the swap range and stuff. I also think you definitely max wave a terror second. I used to not be a big fan of that because it didn't scale well, but the importance of it is in lane pushing. It's one way that Venge is really bad, is that Venge can't farm very well and can't wave push very fast. You should have walked up and tried to see if you could swap that guy. There's no reason to play back, basically. I think you're playing a little bit too safe. Like, again, Dead Darkseer, you can take a 4v or 5v4 or 4v4. I think that's fairly safe. Buying Observers and Sentries, this is great. The place you need wards is aggressively, the spot where they're farming. I wish you would run into their jungle or something. Again, Vengeance Aura, it's just honestly not that. It's good with Dusa. It's really good with Dusa because she buys a lot of stat items, and it's pretty good with OD because he steals int. But the other heroes on your team, it doesn't really benefit you very much. They're gonna know that you placed a ward there. That was kind of dangerous once you spotted somebody. Either way, the Solar Crest is good. It's not as good as it used to be, for sure. I would say it's definitely worse than it used to be, because it only increases the armor by 3. And offensively, it doesn't really make it easier to kill somebody unless you use it against, like, Troll when Troll uses Spin. If it still gave, like, mischance for the people you cast it on, I would say it's good this game because it would stop Huskar from hitting as accurately. But until these guys pick up, like, their halberds or butterflies or something like that, I'm just not the biggest fan. By the way, we're 23 minutes in this game and you haven't swapped a single human. I'd like to point out. That's not a good sign. This is part of the problem. You're having trouble, a lot of trouble killing this guy. He does have a lot of armor though. You are most likely going to die. Oh, they didn't charge you. Lucky for you. We'll just farm these creeps for now. This ability doesn't scale super amazing anyway, so another reason I think it's worth passing up. I actually really like that you went the attack speed. I think that's good. I think that's better than 8% magic resistance. 8% magic is so bad. It's so little. It's like if you have 1000 HP and you only take magic damage, you have 80 extra HP. That's it. It's not terrible this game. Iron Shell, Huskar Burning Spears, Anti-Mage Ulti, all SB's damage is pretty much magical except for his actual right click. But 25 attack speed is enough where you can actually jungle if needed, and it helps you. Oh god, that would have been such a good swap. Your first baby swap. It's adorable. Fortunately, you and Underlord aren't good at killing single target heroes. There's another reason that Vengeance Aura is kind of negative, is because when they make a Darkseer illusion of you, that illusion will have your equivalent level of Vengeance Aura. So that's kind of negative too. I would have ran at this guy. That was 100% punishable. Maybe not punishable, but you should have walked at him to see if there was an opportunity. Instead, you're walking safely. Like, this guy's not going to kill you. You probably don't know if he has ulti or not, but you should definitely be walking at him to see if you can get a stun off. It's worth your life, 100%. I think Drum could be really good on this hero too. A little bit of mana regen, movement speed when needed. So if I was going to play Venge, maybe I'd do like... I think the Tranquils is kind of a must because of the super movement speed they give you. I'd probably go like Tranquils, Magic Wand, maybe a Drum. Maybe consider an Aether Lens, maybe. The Spell Amp is kind of wasted for sure, but the cast range is not bad at all. Because the stun range is a little bit mediocre. I feel like Aether Lens on this hero could be good. The mana pool it gives you, I guess, is kind of a waste. Medallion, I think, is kind of a must as well. So maybe like, maybe not a must, but definitely very good in most cases. Just because then you have Wave of Terror and Medallion. But I probably like Tranquil Boots, Magic Wand, Medallion, Drum, maybe. I'd kind of like maybe an Aether Lens instead of the Drum on the depending on the game. But I guess the mana region's a little bit wasted because you really don't cast spells that often. But maybe you would if you had an Aether Lens. I don't know. This cast range is just so bad. It's like 500 units or something. Obviously a very dodgeable skill as well. Again, same. Maybe you didn't have vision there. But same kind of thing. Don't Wave a Terror first. Giving the Dusa lots of damage right now. Maybe you get like 2 points in Venusaur or something, but I would probably leave it at that. Because that's like a 80% increase in damage from the first level. But every subsequent level becomes worse and worse technically. And Wave of Terror, that cooldown is actually so big. Plus Aether Lens just gives you bigger swap range. Like you have level 2 right here, and it's pretty good, but 200 range on this would be massive. I feel like that could be really valuable. Maybe it's only useful against heroes that are bad at getting out of position though. It's another smoke of your guys's that was kind of misguided in my opinion. You should definitely be going in, by the way. Oh, he got banished. That's why you're playing weird. Alright, let's look at that team fight again. So I'm a little surprised you guys didn't win it. Alright, first off, your mana's really low at the start. It's one of the problems. I wish that you would have pressured in with your allies rather than waited around on the back here. I think that was a mistake. Like right now you stunned the AM, for example. It actually did nothing other than get this guy stunned, because it did no damage, because first of all he's got Spell Shield, and he's also under Shrine. That was just popped. So you pretty much wasted all of your starting mana, which instead could have been used to kill Troll Warlord maybe, or lock down the Spirit Breaker so that he didn't ulti the OD, and that gives the OD more seconds to auto attack, for example. It would have made a big difference. Goodbye, little Pudge. A Buckler, are you going mech? If you're going mech, there's no way you can afford that. Your mana, your int gain is really bad on this hero. Don't think it's doable. Hitting like the entire enemy team with -6 armor is actually so good right now. And the cooldown is almost permanent, 15 of 16 seconds. If you just cast this like every second in the team fight, or every time it's up, that makes a big impact, especially if you catch like 3 heroes with it. That's so much better than your aura, which may not be reliable. That's the other thing about maxing the aura, or the Wave of Terror, is that it doesn't matter where you're standing, whether somebody's chasing you or not, that you should be able to get away. Interesting that they chose to stop chasing you. Stack didn't work. Oh, that's blocking, that's why.
Radiant's middle tower has been denied.
I think that swap was unnecessary. Not a big fan of the Buckler that you got here. I think it's really unneeded.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
There's the Halberd. Solar Crest, very good now. Or at least a little bit better. Helps you hit the Husker more reliably. This does what? 160 damage. Does 200. with the perk. Going Crimson Guard, really interesting. I don't know if I've ever bought this on a Venge before. I did buy it once or twice yesterday when I was playing games. I think it's okay. But I think it's way too big to build at this point. I think the item is... The build-up doesn't fit your hero at all, basically. It's like 3,000 gold. 3,500 gold. That's a pretty expensive item. And the damage block doesn't even work as well for you. It's 35 versus 70. And you went Buckler first. Like, this is so expensive from here to upgrade. You spend 800 of the 3,500, and then when you get the other 35, then it all of a sudden becomes a good item. And even then, it's like, by the time you're going to finish this, it's already so late. Like, this item is better the earlier you get it, because the damage block will be a larger percentage of the damage being done. And damage block is very good against high attack speed heroes. Like, it's kind of good, but this guy's hitting for like 300 damage already. So damage blocking like 60 is not that great, especially with high armor heroes. Like, if this guy's got 30 armor right now, it doesn't really matter if 60 of that is blocked, because he's probably only doing 100 damage in the end anyway, so you're only saving him like 20 HP. It's probably really good on Pudge, because Pudge is fairly squishy, but... I like the swap. I like the Solar Crest usage there. Alright, you are 100% dead now. Do your best. That's good. I like that. You're actually wrecking this guy's armor between these two. This is just not good though. You should have like a Force Staff instead. Something like that would be so much better than a Buckler into Crimson Guard. Ugh. Doesn't do anything. Even like a Glimmer would be better. I really do think you should go full Magic Wand though, because your int is so bad. I didn't realize this hero had such bad int gain, but because your int gain is so bad, I think you actually really need the 4 int and the extra charges. I think it would make a big difference.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Okay, it's been denied. That would have been a decent time to swap. Didn't see if you were up or not. So I basically feel like your item impact of the game is going to be atrocious for the next 10 minutes as a result of what you currently have and what you're planning to build. It's just not going to be valuable. I'd prefer you have like an Atos or something like that even. I feel like that would be better. I think that was overkill by him. And now you're going to buy the Ring of Regen, but does this really make you that much stronger right now? It's not that much. It's only 6 HP per second. I would have probably just gone for a swap there. I think that would have been better. Instead you could have a Dust right now, Sentry Ward. Should use the Buckler to give everybody 2 armor. Like, the way that teamfight started was just not a good thing. Buckler at that point isn't worth it because now you're going to die. Stayed way too long. You basically tried to wrap around when they were spread out and you had vision of that. Let me see when you can see them. You could have swapped that guy right there. And you wanted to. Swap this guy here. Maybe. That one was the fast reaction. I mean, maybe you couldn't actually see the Huskar, I'm not sure, but... Where's Doosan? Why'd she ult so late? She actually ultimated. She used her ultimate way too late. And everybody was running past her, basically like undeterred from her ultimate. So she misused her ultimate a lot there, but you guys definitely took a shit team fight. This guy's super dead. Like, if Medusa is like covered by enemies, she's going to die. It doesn't help that her item build is bad. You shouldn't buy Manta on her. It doesn't increase her damage at all. In fact, most of her... She's actually farmed quite slow, I would say. Quite surprised her net worth is so low. But she's done kind of a weak... I mean, she's against an AM, I guess, but... which sucks, but it shouldn't be this bad. I think the game is basically over at this point. That's kind of what it looks like. But your items basically stop being relevant. They didn't help you become better at the role that you're trying to do, which is basically like teamfight impact, swapping. It basically just made your hero a little bit more survivable. You had a solar crest, but I just feel like all of this net worth doesn't do anything in the game. If we look at Purge, for example, his items don't really do that much either. Play mail makes him die a little bit less. Shadow amulet's kind of good, but he could add like a blade mail or maybe a blink dagger, something that actually like helps him get a hook off. That way you guys could have caught somebody mid, for example. Like imagine if you swapped the Darkseer way back or the SB and you dusted and stunned him. That would have been a way different fight. But instead it was like 5 heroes running into somebody after he used Shadow Blade and got some distance. That's just asking for a bad team fight. And none of your items really helped to make the game that much better, except for the Solar Crest. Everything past that was kind of wasted. Got all your mana drained, unfortunately. So I think that's about it. I think we'll stop here because this game looks extremely over and I really doubt that you'll win. In fact, I can check. Let's cheat. It is a dire victory, so no surprise there. Okay, well, thanks to your friends for signing you up for coaching. Keep at it. I think you're definitely close to getting to 5K. You just got to fix some of those efficiency things, and you got to solve some of your late game item choices, which really hurt you this game. Last game, not as big of a deal. It was your early game choices last game were terrible. This game, your late game choices were bad. And you just need to be a little bit more efficient with your gank attempts. You're playing too passive. You're always kind of reacting to somebody else initiating. It feels like you needed to swap more, set something up, get some tempo going, that kind of thing. All right, thanks for watching. Appreciate it, and I will catch you later.